The two feature animations you're introducing and releasing both deal with marriages and the strange misinterpretations that couple often have with one another. What do
Yes.
you, what do you believe are the main differences in your approach to the couplings of I Married a Strange Person versus cheating, especially since they're 16 years apart?
Yeah. Well, when I married a strange person, I was single,
Huh.
and I had a lot of women friends, and some were weird, some were very strange. And so I thought that would be a funny idea for a film, a feature film. I married a strange person because it lent itself to my surreal style, my
Right.
crazy
Yeah.
uh, characters doing crazy things. Where the one cheating was after I started this relationship. That's I'm not going to mention her name. Anyway, and nobody was cheating in the relationship. I just thought my imagination went wild. Like, what would happen if
Right.
she caught me doing something, or I caught her in another affair, or something like that? And that was the spark that ignited the couple and the problems they had.
Yep.
And for me, the problems they had were not real. They were their imagination, their fantasies.
Right.
And I thought that was a fun idea for a feature film to
And you
talk
took it to the
about
max.
weird things. Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you find any similarities between the two couples?
Oh yeah, a lot. They both loved each other. They put up with each other during some hard times.
Right.
Um, and they're both very surreal. That's
Very
my
good.
that's my bottom line, as they say. I definitely like weird things happening to weird people.
And we appreciate it.
Well, thank
From
you.
those of us sitting on the other side, we appreciate it. So
Thanks.
you love animating dogs, and Hot Dog
Yeah.
is particularly funny in the quirks of dogs. As a category of
Uh-huh.
animals, what fascinates you about the enthusiasm and quirks of dogs that make them so uniquely right for animation? I'm just not talking about you, but
Yeah.
the
Well,
history of animation.
the idea for this film happened when I was running exercising around Bryant Park, which is really near not Bryant Park. I'm sorry, Madison Park,
Ah,
which is just a block from where I live
okay.
in Chelsea. And I
Nice.
saw this dog barking at a little bird, a tiny little bird like this big, and like he was afraid of the bird. And I wonder, why is the dog so fearful for this cute little sing-song bird, And so I went inside his brain and realized that he was afraid that the bird would attack his master, his
Uh,
companion, his
right.
buddy,
Right.
and it would kill him, and that would be the end of his happy life. And so I thought that was kind of a funny idea because, again, it brought in imagination and fantasy and surrealism,
Yeah.
which is where I get my humor.
It was
And
so beautiful.
um, and so I immediately ran home and started jotting down ideas because sometimes I forget them and they're gone and I never hear them from them again. It's really sad. So I always usually have a pad and a pen with me when I'm outdoors. But I was jogging, so I felt there's no room for that, But I did rush home immediately, started drawing the dog, started
Man.
coming up with ideas with different animals that he could be fearful of, and the weird thing was that the film was just another film. It was just, I've done all these other shorts, How to Kiss, One of Those
Right.
Days,
Sure. Sure.
on and on. And I just thought, well, this is a funny dog film. But we showed it in Maryland, the Maryland Film Festival. People went nuts. I mean, they were right. Everybody rushed me like I was John Lennon or something. And the dog, we love the dog. How do you have a T-shirt of the dog or a poster or a game, a drinking mug, anything? I said, wow, I must have caught something here. It must have.
You had a zeitgeist at the
Yeah,
right time.
something's going on. I don't understand it, but I
It's
did.
not up to the artist. It's up to
That's
the
right. It's out of
audience.
my hands.
Right. It's out of
But
your
I've
hands.
done six, I believe, six dog films, and I
Oh,
have another
great.
one. I'm storyboarding right now.
Excellent. Excellent, sir. So, one of the things of many that I love about your animation is the normalcy of the faces of your characters,
Mm,
illustrated perfectly in the feature short Push Comes to Shove. Now,
yes.
what do you find notable in the normal faces of our everyday lives as you put them through the actions of your surrealistic stories?
Well, you pegged it just right. Is the humor in my films comes from the surrealism, and it's my belief that surrealism is the secret to good humor,
Yeah.
even if it's literary. You know, you could write something about an image that they had that went really crazy, and that's funny. So for me, surrealism is the secret, and for surrealism to be really effective you have to start from something that's boring, that's plain, that's normal.
Right.
Just like your face, that face that had the guy singing is really a bland, boring face. Now I could have given him a big nose and goofy ears and
Right,
eyeballs sticking out, but then when the surrealism happened, you would say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's expected."
right.
But when the guy is really boringly normal and then something weird happens, that's funny. That's the secret. It's that conflict between opposing styles, that clash of styles that makes it funny, and that's it makes people laugh.
You got me on that, brother. So, your signature style, as we are talking about, is quite distinct and like a fingerprint can only be traced back to you.
Yes.
In the evolution of your art, which period of your development did that style emerge distinctly, and what has changed about it most profoundly as it has evolved?
Well, the first time I remember doing that style, and when I talk about that style, it's sort of pen and ink cross hatching
Right, right.
building up the texture with the pen. Was I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I
Wow.
was drawing a picture of our house out in Oregon. I'm from Oregon
Right.
originally, and I started doing the shading, and I thought I'll go cross hatching and my counter cross hatching, and I really loved it. I said,
Oh,
"This is
that's so cool.
plus." It was
That's so
really
cool.
quick and easy to do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just do it. You scribble and scribble, and the more you scribble, it sort of appears. The house appeared out of this scribble, and I thought, "Wow, this is fun," and I like the look of it. So I've been doing that ever since, yeah, 8 years old. I think I was in
That's amazing.
second grade or third grade, something like that. But I was always drawing. I love to draw, and I love Disney. I love Tex Avery and
Oh,
Bob
that's great.
Cranston and those guys. Winsor McCay
Yeah,
is
Windsor
a big
McKay.
hero of mine. I
Awesome.
love his stuff,
I have a question
and
about that later, but
yeah.
this uh, the second, or some would say current golden age of animation, has to do with the development of digital computer aided techniques over the pen and ink cell style that you began with.
That's
Do,
true.
do you use computers to render your art now? And what is your assessment on how it's influenced animation as we know it today?
Well, I started doing animation in around 85. Uh,
Hmm.
and by then it was still the old-fashioned way where everybody was making film, 35
Right,
millimeter film.
right.
And so I had to find a cameraman, I had to find a lab, I had to find where to get the film stock, where to do the sound check, where to
Yeah,
do this. And then I get all these prints back from the lab, a check print and a negative print and all these things. And it costs so much money,
right.
so much money. 90% of my costs for making a short film back then went to the technology.
Interesting.
I had to hire a
Right,
cameraman, all
right.
this stuff. And now, because of digital, and I like digital. I'm not one of these guys like Tarantino. I really like digital.
Cool.
Now 90% of my money, my costs go to the artists, and 10% go to the technology.
So
I love
awesome.
that. That is so,
That's
that's
so
music in
awesome,
my ears.
man.
Yeah. And so for me, and it's also quicker. It's much faster. You don't have to wait for the lab to process your
Right.
film and send it back and then check, make changes and everything. You can change it on the spot. If there's something that doesn't work, you can preview it and then fix it.
Was cheating in digital?
It was.
Oh yeah, cool.
It was 2005 when I made the switch to
Oh, okay. Okay.
digital.
That makes
But
sense.
it's still hand drawn. I draw them by hand.
Right.
I do the storyboards by hand. I do the backgrounds by hand. I do the layouts by hand. So I do pretty much everything except the post-production.
Very good.
Sound is
Yeah.
done digitally now, and
Well, you got good collaborators because cheating's
yeah,
great.
thank you.
Sound and cheating is great. I
Well,
mean,
thanks. I found people throughout my career, and if I like them, boy, I keep them. I need
yeah,
them.
sure. Okay, Kubrick. So,
Yeah.
hey, one of the things I wanted to say when you told me the story about when you were 8, it was like hearing a superhero origin story. The
Ah,
greatest. It's the greatest. You
not
should
really.
do if you should do a graphic novel of your Oregon days. So
Yeah,
that's that.
I do talk about them. I have a couple books out where I
Oh,
talk
good.
where I got my style from and how it evolved and
Oh,
things.
that's cool.
Yeah,
I'll have to read those.
and that's if you want to make cartoons like me and not have to worry about getting sponsors or people who
Right.
invest or things like that. Just make films that you love doing, and that's my
We'll say the full title again because I think I was talking over you.
yes. It's called "Make Tunes That Sell Without Selling Out" by Bill Plimpton.
Thank you, Bill
Tunes
Plimpton.
that sell
Thank you
with
for that endorsement, Bill Plimpton.
yes, yes,
So you grew up in Oregon, as we just
yes,
talked about, but you eventually moved to New York City. What was
yeah.
behind that decision? Was it the confines of what you were learning at Portland State?
No, I tell you what it
All
was.
right.
At a very early age, actually, when I was 8, I was watching Disney, and I that's what I wanted. I said, I want to do one of those little birds flying around in it, in
Sure.
Sleeping Beauty or something.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal in life. And unfortunately, when I got out of college, which was 69, 68,
Right.
Disney had died. The
Yeah.
Disney studio was bankrupt.
Oh man.
Of
Right.
course, Warner Brothers had stopped doing animation, and Fleischer Brothers had stopped it. And the only thing around was Hanna-Barbera, and I hated that crap. That was that was really bad. So I decided that there was no chance of me getting. Plus, there was no animation schools back then. Animation
Right.
was such a dead art form. There were
Wow.
no schools. So I said, well, screw it. I'm going to go to New York, become a cartoonist, which is basically animation, but
Yeah.
not so many drawings. And
Good point.
I was a successful illustrator. I did
Yeah.
stuff for Playboy and
Oh
Penthouse,
yeah. Yeah.
Rolling Stone, and National
Yeah. Yeah.
Lampoon, and Crew, and New York Times. You name it, I did it.
This old boy remembers.
Yeah. And then I got my big break in 1985,
Right.
when this woman named Valeria Vasilevsky, who I'd done some illustrations for of anti-nuclear artwork.
Hmm.
And she said, I have this song by Jules Pfeiffer, and we want to make a music video out of it. I
Right.
said, oh, that sounds interesting. And they wanted me, they knew I wanted to be an animator. They said, we chose you as the director and the
Wow.
animator. And
Wow.
I said, that's great. How much am I getting paid for this? And they said, oh, no, there's no money.
Welcome to the business, kid.
Yeah, boy. And you know what? I said, I don't care.
Right.
I've got to be an animator before I die.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
I
That's a
was
great
38, I
story.
think 37, something like that. And so they brought in this woman named Connie D'Antonio was her name. She was
Hmm.
a veteran animator. And she took me step by step through the process of how you make an animated film. And this was my animation school. Instead of going to Cal Arts and spending,
Yeah.
$1,000 a year, I got this free lesson from this woman, Connie D'Antonio. And it was everything I needed to know. If I had a question, I called her up and said, can I get 16 print? Or what, how do I get the paint? Where does the paint come from? I have no idea. So anyway, she
Crazy.
answered all my questions. And from there on, I said, I'm making my own films. I have so many ideas because I did a lot of cartoons for, Rolling Stone
Right.
and
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
National Lampoon and the
Yeah.
Men's
I remember.
Magazine. that I had a lot of ideas, a lot of ideas. I
Oh,
thought
that's
they were
great.
great shorts. So I just, first one I did was Your Face, and that thing took off like a rocket. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with that. That was really crazy.
Was that the one nominated for an Oscar?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
and I didn't even enter it. Somebody entered it for me. And I got a phone call early morning
Oh my
saying,
God.
Mr. Plimpton, did you know you got nominated for an Oscar? What the hell? Is this a dream? Am I still dreaming? Yeah,
Oh, what a story. That's fantastic.
yeah, this
Okay.
is a weird one.
Yeah. You were in the gritty New York City scene of the late 1960s through the 70s. How
Yes.
would you characterize the last golden age of newspapering and syndication? And do you have an anecdote that perfectly illustrates your experiences in the New York City of that era?
Yeah, I did a lot of political cartoons and
Yeah,
caricatures. In fact, I was syndicated for a while. I was in about 20 newspapers, which isn't a lot, so it didn't pay off that as well as we'd hoped.
right.
Um, and it was a wild time. New York City was crazy. It was, remember, it was what's his name, the president who said, New
Ford, the city, drop dead.
drop dead. Yeah, Ford, that was it. Drop dead.
Gerald,
So
Gerald R. Ford.
that was a good time to be a cartoonist. There's a lot of craziness with
Yeah.
Nixon and Reagan and stuff like that. But it just wasn't my wish, my desire to do a political cartoons all my life. I really wanted to make something that lasts a long time and show people my humor and show people, my crazy ideas. So that's why I jumped at the chance to work in animation.
Oh man, that's so cool.
And I'm happy I did because you know what happened. I mean, a lot of my illustrator and political
Yep,
cartoonist friends have
are
nothing.
done.
There's no work. It's
There's
really,
no
really
work.
sad. Yeah,
Whoever thought that we'd see the day?
yeah,
Um,
crazy.
yeah, it really is. So you have a simpatico relationship with Matt Groening, and you both came up through the alternate comic strip world.
Yes.
When did you first meet him, and what impresses you regarding the evolution of The Simpsons as it breaks record after record for the longest running series?
That's for sure. That's for sure.
You've done a
Well,
lot of work with them, right?
it's a bit of a story, so
Yeah,
you can
do
do
it.
that
Tell me, baby.
if it's too
We got
long. But I was going to Portland State University in Oregon, of course, and they had a little film festival there. In fact, they had some bunch of foreign films too, so it wasn't little. It was a nice festival,
right,
and there was this guy showing industrials. I don't know if you remember what industrials
yeah,
were. They
yeah,
were long commercials, like 20
right,
minutes, 15 minutes of
right,
commercial. And this guy was making them for Janssen and all sorts of merchandise,
right,
cars, things.
right.
And they were hilarious. They were like Monty Python before Monty Python. They were very deadpan, which I like. That's sort of my humor, and but just really wicked and very strange. And the guy was there, and I said, "Wow, I love your films. You have anything else to show?" He said, "Yeah, come out to my house, and I got a little 16 projector, and I'll show you some of my other work." And so I said, "That's great." So we drove up there.
That's
I
crazy.
walk in the door, and there's this 14-year-old kid on the floor drawing little cartoons. And I said, "Oh, cartoonist, huh?" And I looked at him and said, "Oh, wow, these are really good." So that was Matt. That was Matt Groening, and his dad was Homer Groening,
Oh,
and
oh
that's
my
what got me
God.
for Homer. Yeah. And so we've been friends for a long time. And usually we run into each other at the San Diego Comic Con or
Yeah,
film festivals. He comes to a lot of film festivals, and
that's
he's
so
a big supporter. I mean, he really is. He said really nice things about me, and
oh yeah,
he got me work at the Simpsons. I did a bunch of
yeah.
couch
Couch
gags
gags.
for the Simpsons, and they were very successful. They really loved them. Unfortunately, they had to quit doing the couch gags because when Disney took them over, they thought the budgets were too big, so they axed the couch gags,
I
which
had no idea because I
I
hadn't
was
watched it.
sad because that was a fun gig. It was really fun and the money was good and everybody saw it. I mean, a star. You know, I was a rock star there for about 3 years,
Oh, you've been
doing
a
some.
rock star all your life, sir.
Yeah,
You
oh,
just need to
thanks.
get out. You just need to get out among the people more.
I remember one night we were, I was down in LA. I go to LA occasionally, you know, because I did work for Penthouse
Cool.
and some of those magazines. And Matt and I went out drinking, and we were with a few people. And I said, you know, I'm in LA. I want to go swimming. Let's go to the beach. He said, no, the beach is too far. It's, you know, it's impossible traffic. So he said, I know this house that has a pool. And it's in the middle of the night, it's like midnight. So we go up, climb through this brush and into a wire fence. And we climb over the wire fence. We take off all our clothes, go naked, and go swimming in somebody's pool. And we could have been shot. I mean, if that guy was there, we would have been dead meat. But
Wow.
it was an unforgettable night in LA.
Oh, dude, that is so awesome.
Yeah, that's a great one. I never
But
told that story before. It's interesting.
oh, great, great.
We do have a good story on I Married a Strange Person. Would you like to hear that one?
yes, absolutely.
And this is really good because it demonstrates how difficult it is to be independent and finance my own films and make
Right,
money on my films.
right.
So anyway, I did a film called I Married a Strange Person,
Yep,
which you know of.
I see. Yep.
And we got invited to Sundance, which was a real honor. I mean, I think it's a good film, and to
Yeah,
be invited by Sundance to show was wonderful. So we had the screenings. I think we had 4 screenings, and everyone, the audience went nuts. They were applauding, standing up. They wouldn't stop applauding. Everybody wanted to talk to me. Everybody wanted to
right,
talk about my animation.
right,
And I thought, well, this is going to be easy. This will be easy sell. People love the film, but nobody wanted to not only look at it because they knew it was an adult film, adult
right,
animation,
right.
but they didn't want to hear from me. And I felt really bad because I knew the audience loved the film and there is a market for that, but
Yep.
this was in early 2000s.
Yeah, yeah.
They still have a bias against animation that's for adults. So anyway, I've sort of decided to go see some other films. I got the shuttle bus that goes around the city,
Yeah,
as you know,
yeah.
and picks up skiers and film goers, and it stops at all the cinemas. So I got on, and there was a guy from Lionsgate Films who I met before, and we were buddies. He
Right.
actually was friendly to me. And I went up to him. I forgot his name now. And I went up to him and, oh, you remember me? I'm Bill Plimpton. I'm the animator guy. He said, oh yeah, Bill, how you doing? Shaking my hand and everything. And I said, well, you know, I got a film here. It's called I Married a Strange Person. And I think you should see it. I think it's right down Lionsgate. You know, it's
Sure.
the style you would like. And so he said, well, you know, Bill, I got a stack of films this high that I got to watch before I go home. I just don't have any time. I don't have any room in my suitcase. I'm sorry. I just can't watch it.
Right.
And I was angry. I didn't express it, but I just felt rejected. You know, I felt really bad.
Sure.
And just then the doors open and the snowboarder jumps on the bus. And he's like 18. He's got those knit caps, you know, and the snow was sliding down his face and dripping all over my suitcase and everything. And the guy comes in and says, dude, you're Bill Plimpton. Damn, I Married a Strange Person. That film fucking rocks. That is the best film I've seen all year. Then he jumps out the door and slides down the hill and he's gone. I went, what the heck was that? And so the guy from Lionsgate says, you know, Bill, I think I'll check your film out. Why don't you give me a copy of it? And he saw it, he loved it. He paid me a nice big advance for the film, and
Nice.
I got a royalty check. And you know, getting a royalty check from Hollywood is not so easy. So
Right.
that little kid, I wish I knew his name or how to thank him, but he made that deal. He made the sale for me.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2025.